Black Shuck, written and performed by Erica Rogers. It was Theodore's turn once again to tell a scary story. Even though they all took turns, these days it felt like it was always his turn. It wasn't that he was nervous, after all. He had been friends with the other children since the playground. "Teddy," LaTanya said, "don't you have a story for us?" "We can skip if you want," her brother Lawrence chimed in. "I've got a good one I've just been waiting to tell you guys." Theodore let out a frosty breath as he once again took a look at all of his friends. They all stared back at him expectantly. Even though their little group met like this every week for the past 4 years, he missed them more and more between each time. Their scary story campfires always brought a sense of relief and comfort to him. Suddenly, he realized that he still hadn't spoken a word to them. It was a lot to take in, seeing his good friends again. Yeah, he said at last. "I've got a story about our very own woods." The curving woods, which is ironically where they were currently gathered, was Karen Echo's most unique feature. It was nicknamed the Curving Woods because it surrounded their little town on 3 sides, cutting it off from neighboring towns. Although their poor ancestors probably felt isolated, they were lucky enough to live during the age of cars and public transportation. "Ooh, I love stories that take place here," Minnie giggled. "Makes it spookier." "So get on with it, Teddy," Paulina impatiently demanded. "I hate the suspense." Teddy looked down at his hands, which he hadn't realized were shaking. He took a deep breath to steady himself. When he opened his eyes, he sat up straight and determined. He was ready to tell his story. One look into his eyes will bring you bad luck. See it twice, and it will seal your doom. It roams the coastlines, crossroads, and forests of Great Britain, just waiting to be seen. His friends all looked at each other excitedly, scooting in closer to hear better. Minnie opened her mouth to ask a question, but seeing the trance-like look on Theodore's face, she decided not to interrupt. Although the specter is known to be an omen of death, there have been a few cases where it would lead lost travelers to safety or accompany young maidens as a protector. LaTanya visibly relaxed a little, thinking this story might not be all that scary. That's rare, though. It may be a completely different creature altogether. Most people who encounter this evil spirit die before the end of the year. Well, she was wrong. Whether people believe it is good or bad, it is always a fearsome sight to behold. The size of a typical dog or as big as a horse, it resembles a demonic cane corso with shaggy fur as black as the night. "Wait, so it's just a dog?" Paulina scoffed. Theodore met her eyes with an intensity that almost scared her. "Yes, a huge, monstrous dog with large round eyes like saucers and red as the setting sun. And it has this haunting howl that will chill you to the bone." Theodore looked around at his captive audience, satisfied. "But the scariest thing is, you'll never hear it coming, because its footsteps will never make a sound on the forest floor." Over the centuries, it gained many names: a hellhound, the cluddle, the church grim. Me, I like to call it the Black Shuck. The most notable death related to Black Shuck was a calamity at the churches of Bungay and Blythburgh. At the clap of thunder, a black shuck burst through the church doors. As it ran in, it killed a boy and his father, then caused the church steeple to collapse through the roof. And as it left, just as quickly as it came, Theodore stood up and looked over the woods. It left scorch marks on the floor. His friends were dumbfounded. "Well, that wasn't too scary," LaTanya whimpered as she snuggled in closer to her brother. "I'll just give him a bone and he'll leave me alone, right?" "Didn't you hear what Teddy said?" Minnie whispered. "It's not really a dog, it's a ghost." "Or something like that," Theodore replied mysteriously. "I'm still not scared," Paulina snorted. "They're all the way in England. They've been spotted all over the world. A ghost or a demon can take on many forms. Black Shuck is just what they called it. Theodore's voice rose as the wind began to pick up. I wouldn't be surprised if there was one out here with us right now. Theo, man, you're scaring us, Lawrence pleaded as Theodore leapt up, eyes wild, hair dancing in the wind. So if you hear the howl of the Black Shuck, shut your eyes. It could save you from looking into those fiery red portals and seeing your own death. Lawrence jumped up and shook his friend's shoulders. Snap out of it. It's just a story. This is supposed to be fun. After a moment, Theodore finally calmed down. He stood there dazed before slowly regarding Lawrence and the others. I'm sorry. I got a little carried away with that one. He looked at the girls who had all gathered together with terrified looks on their faces. I didn't mean to scare you guys. You're starting to scare me more than the story, said Minnie. But the story was still pretty scary. I'll never look at a black lab the same way again, whined LaTanya. I'll never look at Teddy the same way again, Paulina added. I didn't know you had it in you. It's like you were possessed. Maybe he was, by the Black Shuck, Lawrence said, turning to the girls and creepily wriggling his fingers. The girls pretended to be scared as Lawrence chased them around the campfire, ending with everyone laughing hysterically. Everyone except Theodore. He watched them sadly, not fully understanding why. He had just successfully told a story that had his friends all excited. So why wasn't he happy? Hey, Theo, what's wrong? Lawrence asked, placing a hand on his shoulder. Theodore shuddered. Nothing. I guess I just miss you guys. What do you mean? We're right here, LaTanya said. I know. I mean, when you're not here. We're always with you, buddy. Always, Lawrence assured him. They all smiled at him. You know, Paulina said after a while, I think Teddy really just scared himself. Where'd you get that story from anyway? Minnie asked. You totally made it up, right? No answer. Right, Teddy? Just then, there was a long and sorrowful howl. It sounded just like a lone wolf baying at the moon. The children sat frozen in fear until the sound finally stopped. They all let out breaths that they didn't even realize they were holding.